Welcome back to Cosmic Comics. Previously, I looked at Thanos' early life in Thanos Rising Volume 1, and today I'm going to turn my attention to his first appearance in Iron Man Volume 1, Issue number 55, published in 1973 and written by Jim Starlin and Mike Friedrich. This issue is kind of a big deal. It contains the first appearance of the Eternals of Titan, including Mentor, Thanos, and Eros. The story also introduces the Blood Brothers and Drax the Destroyer. That's a lot of ground to cover, but before we get in there, I'm going to jump ahead to Captain Marvel, Volume 1, Issue number 32, published in 1974, also written by Mike Friedrich and Jim Starlin. It is here that we learn the origins of Drax the Destroyer. The year is 1953. Real estate agent Arthur Douglas has just finished seeing his idol Elvis Presley play at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, and he's driving home with his family to Los Angeles. In the car with Art are his daughter Heather and his wife Yvette. And hold up, I think we will have to assume that the Marvel timeline of the 616 universe in our world doesn't always match up. Elvis didn't record his first song until August of that very same year, and wouldn't be properly discovered until well into 1954, and Elvis didn't perform in Las Vegas until 1956, where he played in the Venus Room at the New Frontier, and Elvis didn't perform at the International Hotel until July of 1969. Thanos is the one telling this story, and he's on his first scouting mission to Earth. He says due to a slight miscalculation, he allowed his ship to possibly be seen by Art Douglas. That's such a weird way to say it, but Thanos sees humans as expendable, and he values his privacy more than their lives, and thus decides to kill the family by running their car off the road. We were told in Iron Man Volume 1, Issue number 54, that the engine and brakes were both cut off. Thanos then lands his ship to ensure the job is finished. Art is lying by the side of the road, where Thanos and his assistant Zar-Dune watch Art Douglas die. Thanos must have done a pretty poor job checking to verify their deaths, because he readily admits that unknown to him, Art's daughter survived the crash and wandered off. Coincidentally, she would later be found and brought to Titan and is now Moondragon. But if you want to learn more about that, go back and watch Part 1 of my Thanos War series, where I cover the first and early appearances of Moondragon. We are then shown the souls of Art and Yvette moving on to a new existence. This moment lines up chronologically where we last left Mentor in Thanos Rising, Volume 1, Issue number 5. Mentor left his son and then went to beg Kronos on bended knee to kill Thanos, because Mentor was unwilling to do it. The story of the destruction of Titan was first recounted in Iron Man Issue number 55, where after the destruction of Titan, we see Kronos telling Mentor that it grieves him, but grief is a hollow substance if not backed by the resolve of action. Jumping back to Captain Marvel Issue number 32, we see that Kronos and Mentor must have been aware of Thanos' activities, because the two of them intercept Art's soul. Not exactly a hero's move, but okay. They then merge Art's soul with a body that Kronos forms out of the earth. This reborn body has its memory stripped from it, and it's given a singular purpose: annihilate Thanos. I will say that the only way this timeline works is if Mentor waited for Thanos to leave the planet before asking Kronos for assistance. Who am I kidding? None of this storyline makes work. Just about every single author who goes through and touches on the early history of Titan changes the story in such a way that it makes all previous retcons almost unintelligible. At some point in time, I might consider going back and doing a video where I look at this. Anyway, back to Iron Man Issue number 55. For whatever reason, Kronos and Mentor can watch Thanos closely enough to observe him killing the Douglas family, but at the same time are seemingly incapable of telling Drax where to locate Thanos. Because of this, it takes Drax an unspecified amount of time to locate Thanos. On a distant living planet, the two giants face off. With a sneering arrogance, Thanos meets Drax's charge. The ground itself shifts and trembles beneath them, and the landscape begins to break apart. So mighty is their struggle that the entire planet breaks apart. Afterwards, only one of the challengers remains standing: Thanos. A weakened Drax is captured and brought to a deserted region of Earth where Thanos has set up a war camp, but far enough away to not be interfered by the cosmic mind of his father. It might have protected Thanos from Mentor, but it didn't stop Drax from reaching out with his own finely honed mind. When Drax was created, his form was imparted with knowledge from Isaac, the computer running Titan, which informed Drax about the Earth, its superpowered inhabitants, and especially of Iron Man. In need of aid, Drax reached out to Iron Man. Here we see Tony Stark proudly announcing positive sales figures from the first set of stock reports since Stark Industries stopped making weaponry. Drax uses too much mental power, and this causes Tony Stark to stop mid-sentence, drop his papers, and begin writhing in anguish. The sudden disruption is enough to worry his board members, but Tony passes it off as a sudden headache before calling the meeting to a close. This meeting seemed like a pretty big deal, and even Dan seems shocked that Tony is blowing this off. Once Tony is alone, we learn that he saw Drax's plea for help as an attack on him, one that tried to fry his brain and thus something he felt he needed to respond to as soon as possible. Basically, he felt vulnerable and wanted to suit up. And then we get a nice little panel-by-panel montage of Tony suiting up. We get some great narration to go with this. And there he stood, mistaken in the belief that he could ward off my mental probes, yet still a man-machine of muscular might. There is a strong implication that Drax has the power to kill off most humans with a strong blast of mental telepathy. While Tony is suiting up, it's gotten dark outside, and the Blood Brothers attack the security outside of Stark Industries headquarters. Drax reaches out to Iron Man again, a seemingly painful experience for Mr. Stark. Drax asks for assistance, and since Iron Man sees little choice in the matter, he asks Drax to explain himself. Drax's story begins on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Hidden beneath the surface of Titan is a living world run by a giant computer named Isaac. Beneath the surface of Titan was a paradise where the Eternals worked on advancing art and beauty. Drax believes Titan to be ruled by the Eternal Mentor, whose previous name was Alars, and his two sons, Eros and Thanos. Drax explains that there was a great rift where Thanos tried to usurp the power, creating weapons on a world that had none. For this betrayal, Thanos was exiled from Titan. This is a very different story from the retcon version we received in Thanos Rising Volume 1, wherein Thanos seemingly leaves Titan on his own accord after killing his own mother. Granted, we don't get to see why Thanos actually leaves, so it is still possible that there was some form of argument with his father over Thanos making weapons that could have led to Thanos being exiled. In the original version here, Thanos leaves vowing vengeance, whereas in the retcon, Thanos leaves for the outer worlds and genuinely seems uninterested in vengeance. Over time, Thanos gained what is called a raging horde of interstellar malcontents, which Thanos formed into a pirate army which went from world to world, destroying, pillaging, raping. They were basically interstellar Vikings. Eventually, Thanos returns home and begins destroying Titan. I'll also mention that Drax's memory may differ from the actual events due to his memory being altered by Mentor and Kronos. Basically, Drax believes whatever ideas those two have stuck inside of his head. I've jumped around a bit to keep things in chronological order, but this right here is actually the opening panel for Iron Man issue 55, with Drax sending Iron Man a telepathic message. This panel is the first appearance of Drax the Destroyer and establishes that him and Iron Man are both on the same planet. At the moment, he appears to be restrained. He's sending Iron Man a telepathic message to beware of the Blood Brothers. But the message arrives too late, as Iron Man has already met the dastardly duo. Surprisingly, the brothers make short work of Iron Man and end up knocking him out. With Iron Man incapacitated, they report back to their leader that the job is done before hauling Iron Man out to a hovercraft, which descends and picks the brothers up. It's odd that they take a couple of panels to point out that the pod has music that is seemingly synchronized to reach maximum dramatic effect as the craft achieves escape velocity. Not certain why it needed to achieve escape velocity because the craft sets back down on Earth, presumably half a continent away. This panel is the first time Thanos actually appears in the pages of Marvel. He does love that recliner aesthetic to his chairs, even if they never have any cushioning. This place is a prison for Drax, who is surprised to see Thanos has returned. Thanos lets Drax know that they have been monitoring all of his activity, even his telepathing. Thanos notes that he could have stopped Drax, but why bother? He sees Drax as totally insignificant. So insignificant that Thanos saw fit to give him a personal audience? Drax informs Thanos that he will break free and fulfill his life's only purpose, to destroy Thanos. Despite Iron Man being captured, Drax, for unknown reasons, believes that Iron Man's capture will work out for the best. Back on Titan, we see that Isaac has made telepathic contact with Drax. Mentor asks after Drax, but is told that he is still somewhat unconscious. Mentor informs Isaac to continue to monitor Drax until full conscious feedback is achieved. While the Blood Brothers are hauling Iron Man to his cell, he regains consciousness, perhaps in part thanks to Drax, who is mentally projecting directions to his cell. Due to the element of surprise combined with some concentrated repulsor rays, Iron Man gets enough of a jump on the Blood Brothers to jet away. As Iron Man locates Drax, he takes a moment to crack a joke by saying, "Dr. Destroyer, I presume?" Drax attempts to give Iron Man a warning on how to dismantle the device, but Tony dismisses him, insisting that he's been doing this for years. The shot presumably fails to free Drax, and in the process, backfires into Iron Man, knocking him prone. Drax is understandably frustrated that Iron Man wouldn't take the time to listen to him. While on the ground, a purple set of legs walks up and crushes Iron Man's right hand under its boot. The first time Iron Man was introduced to Thanos, he wasn't on one knee. No, he was flat on his belly. Thanos, fresh off his defeat of Titan, introduces himself as Thanos, the first Emperor of Titan, and then of Earth. Iron Man gives a pretty lame retort about spitting on Thanos' boots, but Thanos is already growing bored of gloating over such a primitive life form. Inexplicably and without explanation, Iron Man is captured by the Blood Brothers again. While this is happening, Iron Man passes over whatever threshold he needed to pass over to become fully conscious, and this leads Mentor to ready Project Freedom and fire a blaze of blue from beneath the surface of Titan. I don't know why they needed that gun to come out of the surface like that, as once the blaze reaches Earth, the blue blaze has no problem traveling underground at all. And bullseye, hole in one, whatever you want to call it, the blue blaze lands right on the money, going into Iron Man's chest and shooting forth a unibeam which frees Drax from his shackles. Now that the odds are even, 2-on-2, Drax and Iron Man are ready to take the Blood Brothers on in a fight. Our heroes start out with good punches, but Drax is stopped in his tracks when one of the other brothers picks up a piece of scrap metal and clocks the Destroyer across the chin. It looks like the brother is going to give Drax a final blow, but the Destroyer warns him that when he gets angry, that he reacts. And as he says this, we see the first Blood Brother fly across the room before his shocked brother. Iron Man uses this opportunity and his leverage to pick the other brother up, tossing him headfirst into a wall. While Tony continues to slap the Blood Brother around, he asks Drax about the blaze of light. Drax tells him that when Tony arrived, he mentally ordered a power beam through Isaac to be transmitted to his armor. Iron Man admits that it was an impressive move as he puts in the final blow on the last Blood Brother. From down the hall, Thanos informs everybody that if he pulls down that switch he's holding, the entire fortress will be obliterated. Drax points out the obvious, that also means that Thanos would die. Iron Man lets Drax know that he thinks Thanos would do it. In response, Drax blasts the panel apart. While Thanos is dazed, Iron Man rushes in for a solid punch on Thanos' jaw, leading to his head breaking open. Thanos didn't have to worry about getting blown up because he escaped while Drax and Iron Man were fighting the Blood Brothers, leaving behind an android in his place. Drax surmised that the only reason Thanos would have left an android behind is in an attempt to keep them both there. Seeing the logic in this, Iron Man and Drax immediately flee the facility, escaping as it blows up. As they look upon the destruction, Iron Man has the gall to say, "There goes the end of Thanos' Earth Fortress and the Blood Brothers. None of them will bother you for a long, long time." And years before the meme, Drax says, "I doubt." Drax is not ungrateful. He thanks Iron Man for helping him and acknowledges that he owes him his life. He wants to know how he and the Titans can repay Iron Man, but Tony insists that on Earth, a victory won and an evil thwarted is a double payment. Drax respects the sentiment, and the two heroes offer each other a handshake out of respect and camaraderie. Iron Man's words of advice are, "Villains like Thanos may be strong, but they're cheap. Once defeated, they are only junk." Drax flies off into the night while Iron Man heads home to rest his transistors. The next time Thanos appears is in the pages of Captain Marvel, Volume 1, in the Thanos War. I think the importance of this issue speaks for itself. The number of first appearances alone is incredibly impressive. And now that the setup is complete, I'll start my coverage of where the Thanos War officially begins next episode. Thanks for watching Cosmic Comics. Feel free to hit any of the buttons below. I'm out.